About a month ago, I decided to see just how many tracks my car could complete in Mario Kart DS, and clearly you guys really like that idea. After so many requests though, the follow-up is finally here. Today, we're gonna see how many tracks my 2018 Honda Civic could complete in Mario Kart Wii. Before getting too far into it though, let's establish our rules and concepts. First off, we'll be racing at 150cc, which translates to roughly 50 miles per hour or 80 kilometers per hour. Second, we'll again be imposing the size of the Civic over the kart by using Mario's head as a reference. Since the Civic is 6 feet or 1.8 meters across, it'll sit roughly like this. Third, we're only aiming to complete a single lap of each track. This gives us a better chance at completing more levels, since repeated laps provide increasing opportunities for permanent damage to occur. Finally, this video is sponsored, just not by Honda. We'll be talking more on that later in the video. Without further ado, let's go! Starting out our journey is Luigi Circuit, and thankfully, no, it's not that one. This guy, just like Figure 8 Circuit from Mario Kart DS, is literally just a plain roadway with no obstacles whatsoever. I mean, sure, I may have to slow down a little bit for some of these turns, but this is absolutely, without a doubt, 100% doable. Coming into Moo Moo Meadows, one of my favorite Mario Kart courses, we have yet another pretty easy track. Aside from avoiding the cows at the start, going around these unnecessary ramps, and making sure that the car-sized moles didn't absolutely obliterate us, this was also a pretty easy time. Even if we accidentally took some wrong turns, it's literally just all grass, so there's basically no risk or danger. That's going straight to the top as well. Entering into Mario Kart Wii's second most iconic course, Mushroom Gorge, you and I both probably have some apprehension. Before even getting to the segment that I was thinking of though, we already have a big shroom to bounce off of, which is obviously going to cause some issues. As much as we could go into debating how well the car would survive this initial bounce though, it is pretty pointless given that the Civic would be absolutely wrecked by the long stretch of 7 straight mushrooms absolutely pummeling us. We're gonna go ahead and go straight to the bottom for our first impossible course. Rounding out the Mushroom Cup though is Toad's Factory, another iconic Wii course. Anyways though, Toad's Factory starts off pretty rough. Immediately after the first turn, this dude thinks he's the hydraulic press channel. Thankfully those can be avoided, but right after we see a massive drop which absolutely cannot be skipped. Even if that wasn't there though, the rest of the track has tons of drops, culminating in this absolute nightmare of an end. The Mushroom Cup ended up pretty polarizing, with 2 fully possible and 2 completely impossible. Starting on the Shell Cup though, we have our first retro course, Peach Beach. And guys, this has so many Sunshine references! Piantas, Nokis, Shine Sprites, Cataquacks! Oh my god, I love this level. And my Honda Civic loves this level too. I tend to be pretty skeptical of beach-themed tracks since they not only have sand, but quite a bit of water. However, this track was kind enough to give us a nice stone pathway all the way around the entire beach's edge. I'm pretty shocked it continued all the way through to the end of the course, but you know what? We're gonna take that. Mario Sunshine reference is going and fully doable. Next up is Yoshi Falls, which we actually covered last video. It was fully doable back then, which means it should be now, right? Somehow? No. Although the vast majority of the track remains the same, one specific segment toward the end doesn't. This ramp in DS right after the boost panel is way more mild. Meanwhile, the Wii version is so steep that we get launched way up into the air, coming down really rough. Unfortunately, even if you try to hold your brakes while approaching it, the boost pad is still strong enough to thrust you forward super high up into the air. I tried the water as an alternative, because we considered that to be a maybe before, but the other change to this version is the water is noticeably much deeper, like up to Mario's neck. While I heavily debated the feasibility of this, I did have one final thought. Time Trials forces us into 150, but I don't know if playing the track at 50cc would make the boost less aggressive. I booted up a Grand Prix, had the surreal experience of driving a Honda Civic alongside the others, and eventually made my way to the ramp to find that yes, we are significantly less boosted. That leaves me in kind of a weird position though. I hadn't ever thought about which track state would be the most canon, so to say. I only play in 150 for these because it allows me to use the Civic's maximum speed if necessary, so ultimately I'm going to side with the logic that the boost pads are in their most normal state at 50cc. Everything after is just an increased alteration. Due to the immense shenanigans though, alongside this still being a pretty rough drop, we'll chuck it in probably possible. I swear, the whiplash of making these videos is so jarring but funny. After that entire long segment that took like 20 minutes of experimentation, Ghost Valley 2 is a flat circle with no obstacles at all. The only danger is these silly PNGs of ghosts and the deep, unending, dark abyss below staring deep into my soul. But thankfully, it's super easy to just keep going and finish this out. Very doable. And for the final track of our first Retro Cup, we've got Mario Raceway. Very similar to Ghost Valley 2, it's just a simple track without anything to worry about on the road. I guess this one has some vertical movement at least, so we're going up and down some hills. And the adoring audience does give me some undeserved praise as I rush past the finish line. Rounding this out is again fully doable. While these first 8 tracks have gone way better than expected, things do tend to pick a bit more. Things do tend to pick up a little bit more, so let's see if our luck continues as we head into the Flower Cup. Beginning with Mario Circuit, our luck does continue, primarily due to the fact that this layout is really boring. The course itself, super cute. I love the signs and the castle in the background and all of that, but again, it's just more driving on plain roads. The only real obstacle here is the chain chomp, which to be fair, it does extend out super far, but if we stay far to the left, it can't reach us. We're again putting this at the top. Hey, if you made it this far, I have a secret to tell you, listen up. You just got coconut mauled. You have no idea how excited I was to get here. Unfortunately though, due to the fact that the course designer stuck very closely to the mall theme, we do have some troubles as a car. Right in front of us is a staircase, which as many of you pointed out in the last video on Boston Building, this wouldn't go super well for me. But assuming we could somehow manage our way up, as well as taking an escalator, which does the work for us, we have so many troubles. This mall is just a maze of escalators and stairs at every turn, and even if we could somehow argue a stupid way to get through literally all of those, it's all for naught, as the exit of the store offers us a swift demise. Maybe I was the one who truly got coconut mauled. Heading into DK Summit. For the sake of science, it has to be done. In all seriousness, it's unfortunate that this course starts so rough, because honestly, I think it would be possible if it weren't for getting launched up a literal mountain. The snow seems like it's packed enough to drive on, and although there are many precarious ledges, taking it safely would mean that it's probably possible. It's a bummer, but we've got to send DK down under. And ending off the Flower Cup is Wario's Gold Mine, which decides to give us many, many troubles. First off, the road itself. As best as I can tell, the safest option here would be aiming to stay on the 2 central planks since they provide the most consistent surface. The slats below the rails are potentially usable, but given the gaps, it would likely be a very bumpy ride. Even if those do work though, we're nowhere near done. Once getting going, we're immediately met with this huge dip down and back up. It seems potentially possible, assuming that we could stay on our slats while getting boosted, and by going back to check it out, it doesn't seem like this is so steep that we wouldn't be able to get up. Am I coping? Maybe, but I really try not to. Continuing forward, we eventually run into a giant jump. Mario Kart DS had some of these, but man, this is kind of frustrating how many show up here. That being said, this isn't just a launch and drop, it is 2 sides sloping upwards and toward one another. Since we're on 150 and the boost is shooting me far over, let's do a 50cc test to see if it lines up better and hopefully makes it a bit more of a jump like this. Playing through the entire cup, which took so long, let's see. Oh my gosh. Getting desperate, I checked to see, and yes, this railway up here is drivable, but even trying to aim it perfectly, we can't launch ourselves onto that to get an early stop. I did everything I could to somehow get this into iffy, but there's no denying it. It's impossible for Wario's Gold Mine to be completed. And starting out the Banana Cup with another retro course is Sherbet? Icy Land. Literally everything is ice everywhere. Now, living in the Midwest, I've driven on ice quite a bit, and as much as it sucks, you can usually get where you need to go if you play it safe. But that being said, the road still isn't generally just completely ice. Given that there's no rush here and the only obstacles are baby penguins, which would be more emotional damage than anything else to hit, and we don't know how slippery this ice is, I'm gonna put this in iffy. Feel free to debate that, but that's where I'm at right now at least. And heading into Shy Guy Beach, I was a bit concerned seeing that it was another beach level, but thankfully we're actually on visibly packed sand as opposed to the loose sand by the ocean. That felt great until driving like 100 more feet and seeing that we'd have to get real familiar with the water. Given that we don't have to drive too far through the loose sand and the water doesn't seem that deep, I was really trying to justify being able to put this one in iffy. However, what really solidified its impossibility to me was the final stretch going on tons of little islands. Dipping down into the water, driving through wet sand, and trying to make my way over these loose bumps just seems completely out of the question. While some people disagreed with my choice on Cheap Cheap Beach last video, I have to imagine that almost everyone would agree this is a no-go. And up next is another DS remake. Delfino Square, that's a Mario Sunshine. Don't worry, I'm not doing that bit twice in a video. I do love this era of Nintendo though that actually showed the game some love, like putting Cataquax in Mario Galaxy, because it really does feel like they just forgot about Sunshine after this. Anyways, I am making a Mario Kart Wii video here, so this track is about as doable as last time, which is very. The only issue we again run into is basically the same as Coconut Mall, stairs. In the DS run-through, I was a lot more forgiving of them, probably due to the graphics making them look much more sloped, but even here I still see this as doable. Obviously, driving downstairs isn't great for a car, but we're thankfully only going down one staircase and we can take it pretty slow. After a nice drive by the ocean and ensuring the drawbridge is down before crossing, I'm happy to call this fully doable. And ending the Banana Cup for us is the best Waluigi themed track. Okay, yeah, I can't even say that with a straight face. Waluigi pinball for life. But anywho, Waluigi Stadium starts out with some easily avoidable bumps, as well as some ramps that can be dodged by making our way through the off-road. While it kinda looks muddy, these tracks tend to have an actual texture for mud, so we're going to assume this is fully drivable. However, let's just get this over with. Also, extremely unimportant side note, but there is legitimate mud here, so yeah, I was right about that little segment. It doesn't matter. Anyways, this officially takes us to the halfway point. All I can really say is, man, this game is way more split than Mario Kart DS was. I'm hoping to see some more debatably middle ground tracks in the latter half. And going into the Star Cup. Oh my gosh. I've been using the same chair for the last 10 years, and whenever I move, that happens. Thankfully for me though, Flexispot reached out and sent me the C7 Max. This thing is so comfortable for my back and it has so many features. The height and angle of the headrest can be adjusted, alongside the height of the back and lumbar support. The depth of the memory foam seat can be moved back and forth, and the arms can essentially be positioned for any possible scenario that you could imagine. My favorite feature of all though has to be the footrest, as I tend to give myself 5 to 10 minute breaks every hour while editing, and now I don't even need to leave my seat. Just be careful though, because you may end up getting a little bit too comfy. If you have a limited budget, you can check out their C5 chair, which still has a good build quality alongside basic adjustment functions, or if you'd like to check out something newer, Flexispot recently launched their C7 Morpher, which features a complete upgrade to the lumbar support and upper backrest. No matter what you may pick though, Flexispot has a 30-day return policy and a 10-year warranty, so you're fully covered if something happens to go wrong. If you're interested in checking out the C7 Max though, use my code C730 to get $30 off. Thank you again to Flexispot for sponsoring this video, and let's get right back to Daisy Circuit. Things are starting out great with designated lanes. My Civic just always feels a little bit more at home when they're here. And not only that, Daisy actually goes above and beyond to keep this course safe by placing around cones. How considerate. It's so hard to come up with things to say on these simple courses, man. It's literally just a lap, it's absolutely doable, but you know what? I appreciate her efforts to accommodate me here. After that is an extremely underrated course in my opinion, Koopa Cape. But we don't even get to appreciate it because we're pretty quickly launched off to our death. Given that the entire gimmick of this course is driving through rivers and underground pipes though, it's not like our luck would have continued much further anyways. Pretty apparent, but impossible. And if you've ever played this track even once in your life, you know where Maple Tree Way is getting placed. But you know what? Rather than being all whiny and pessimistic, I'll say this. I made it farther into this course than I was expecting. Sure, like 10 seconds, but further than I was expecting. Just for the fun of it though, I went ahead and considered the rest of the course and was pretty surprised to find that there were really only 2 other parts that I would have considered stopping us. Aside from just driving insanely slow on these branches with no guardrails, this single jump and the netted bridge are the only places that seemed impassable by a car. I'm a bit bummed that we didn't get to see more, but into the depths of impossible you go. And ending off the Star Cup is Grumble Volcano, which is about as brutal as it sounds. Immediately starting us off is a pretty sizable drop, and from there, a drop, 10 drops. There's a lot of drops, and some of them are much higher up than others. I tried to do some measurements on the little ones, but once I got to the big ones like this, I figured it was pretty pointless, as I think the damage would be too much to continue on. Also, we are literally in a volcano, which would be very hot. Starting out the Leaf Cup is Desert Hills. We again talked about this one last time, and there's basically no changes with this version. I could literally just replay the exact same video. Versus the sides, I'm confident in saying we could go through this no problem, but I'm not going to do that, of course. Fully doable, let's keep going. Speaking of courses I've talked about though, it's finally time for my redemption on GBA Bowser Castle 3. I'm sorry for somehow missing the fact that my tires would literally melt if I was in grates above lava. And like hundreds of you pointed that out to me. I promise that I won't ever make a mistake that heinous and unforgivable again, until I do it in another video. Bowser Castle 3 is finally going down into impossible, where it always belonged. And if I had a nickel for every time a fully drivable course was immediately disqualified by an unnecessary cannon or jump at the start, I'd have, like, a decent amount of nickels. DK's Jungle Parkway is a beautifully simple drive through the jungle with no obstacles at all, except for the giant stupid jump across the river at the start. Most of the time, these dumb jumps don't even add anything to the course. It's just there for some reason. This one is going straight to the bottom. And back on the Whiplash train, Mario Circuit is just, like, really simple. It's a track for babies. The only thing you could possibly do to hurt yourself is getting in the way of this chain chomp, or running over a Goomba. And honestly, I don't even think that would do much damage to the car, but I also don't have a Goomba to test it on. Aside from that, the only true potential area for concern that I found were these bumps at the end. But if you took them slowly or just drove around them in the grass, you'd be totally fine. This one goes straight up into fully doable. Keeping up the same pattern as before, we are yet again just sending tracks to the top or bottom. I guess we'll see if any courses manage to make their way into the middle for these 2 final cups. Starting out the Special Cup is Dry Ruins, which is kind of ironic, since Special and Desert Track should never be uttered in the same sentence. Anyways, this one starts out pretty doable, as the track is again made of compacted sand like we saw in Desert Hills and Shy Guy Beach. Continuing on, we enter into the ruins, and do have a pretty sizable pile of sand to plow our way through. It isn't too high yet, thankfully, but I could imagine we might still have some trouble. I mean, worst case scenario though, I could just get out and potentially clear myself a pathway for the tires, but it doesn't even matter, because of course we have to have a dramatic jump at the end that kills us on impact. There's no way around it, I checked, so this guy is sadly a nope. It took so long, but we're finally among our own on Moonview Highway. Hello fellow cars! I will say, the dimensions are definitely a bit off in this version though, as the cars seem significantly larger than us than they were in Mario Kart DS. It doesn't really matter, but I just thought that was kind of interesting. Anyways, things here are pretty smooth, basically just having us drive through a regular city until— what the heck? I don't know what's wrong with these people, but let's go ahead and safely drive out of here, passing through the tunnel and past the finish line, securing our position as this being doable. Is this a cool course? Absolutely. I have so much nostalgia for Bowser's Castle, especially the Bowser statue, since I had the Connects kit for this as a kid, and I played with it so much. Do I think it's possible though? I really doubt it. Looking at the course as a whole though, I do think some of the iconic segments with the statue could be completed since my car could traverse the mud no problem, but there are way too many long jumps over lava spread throughout the entire map. Either way, I was happy to come back here and see the course at least, since it did bring up a ton of good memories. And ending off the Special Cup is a legendary course, arguably the hardest one of all time, Rainbow Road. I don't think I've ever completed a single lap of this course without falling off. Well, until this video I suppose, because I'm traveling at a snail's pace. To address some common thoughts from the last video though, I'm not going to be treating the Rainbow Road levels as having lower gravity, since it still appears to function identically here as it does on Earth. Sure, I could try to figure out how far up into the atmosphere we are, but it wouldn't really matter. To the surprise of absolutely no one, this entire level is chock full of long jumps, insanely steep turns, star blasts, and borderline impossible mid-air turns. As nostalgic as this course may be, it's extremely biased against my 2018 Honda Civic specifically. And for our final cup, the Lightning Cup, we don't even need Rainbow Road, because you know what's better than that? Another basic Mario Circuit track surrounded by rainbow-colored blocks. Mario Circuit 3 is one of the courses of all time. You drive on the road and you make it to the end and you never encounter a single issue. I know I should be happy to win, but it's hard when your opponent is just laying down and dies. Fully doable, of course. Let's keep it up. And just like last time, Peach Garden is a walk in the park. We basically just get to enjoy a nice drive with some scenic views, making sure that we avoid the giant chain chomps and pesky moles. I try not to be too long-winded with the ones we've seen before, so let's put it up in fully doable and wrap up. DK Mountain. Canon. And for our final course, we have N64 Bowser's Castle. And surprisingly, the course was friendlier than I was expecting. The entire entrance and initial segment is still precarious, but really, as long as you safely avoid the thwomps and go slow, your first obstacle doesn't even occur until the staircase partway through. Due to the immense amount of tall steps, I really don't see us getting past here, but not too further on is an impossible ramp, which solidifies our final loss before we take a full look at the total leaderboard. Overall, this game was way more challenging than Mario Kart DS. Our final totals come to 41% being fully doable, which really isn't that bad, followed up by 3% probably possible, 3% iffy, and 53% as absolute no-goes. Also, as a quick note, if you'd like to help further support what I'm doing, memberships are now open and only 99 cents. I want to give a huge thank you though to my first 8 members, Scoopsky Cat, Carl Slurpee, Bayleaf Zero, Dragon the Narrator 9217, Silver Mustard, Added Space, Peony 524, and Dr. Shimp 121. You 8 are the foundation of the Kivit Kingdom. Thank you all so much for watching though, and if you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hype. Coming up next is Could a Human Beat Mario Galaxy 2, which I'm super excited for. Have a great day, and I'll see you all next time.